So already some different priorities. You know, we saw yesterday that, of course, Kingen was willing to first pick the Graves, but their opponents in Gen G weren't willing to, so they were going to ban it away. And we're just going to get the JJ Lee Sin locked in with Azir here for a scout. So there will be the opportunity for Zeka to go to where he wants, but oh my god.
Yes!
We're going to see Ashe, Heimerdinger in the bot lane for DRX. This was something in the second week of group stages that they found a lot of success with. It gave them firm control of the bot lane 2 versus 2, allowing this Graves as well a consistent lane that guarantees push priority in the bot side of the map. We'll see how well DRX can enable Pyosik in the early game to set up for these invades as EDG is responding with the Soraka Azael.
It's so interesting because, you know, initially we had seen the Heimer Ashe as an answer to Kalista. It was kind of thought of as the specific marksman that you were answering, but now they're just straight up blinding it. They will be able to ban out some more marksmen that they're potentially concerned about. Soraka is a very strong laning enchanter though, so they will be able to deal also in the later stages with a lot of the poke from rockets, from volley. So I do feel like it is a pretty intelligent choice.
One of the things I like as well is that she outranges Heimer turrets. If they get chunked down in the brush, you're like, I press Q, a couple more times. All right, thanks for the 15 gold. Like, I killed your turrets off. So you actually do have the ability to outrange. And the way it's played, if you haven't watched the earlier games from Worlds with Heimer support, is he jams him in the brush out to the side. They're usually not in minion aggro range, unless you want them to be. But it's like, if you all-in me, I'm on turrets, dog. Like, we win this. And Soraka's like, I'm not all-inning you. I'm out-poking you, and I outrange your turrets anyway.
Well, I think the big thing that we're going to have to watch out for, you know, from Meiko's side is, of course, the rockets from Heimer, because they are going to be maxing rockets generally on the Heimer support. So if you're spending all your Qs on the turrets, but you're taking poke back, you know, you're not going to be actually proccing that heal over time from hitting an enemy champion. So definitely some power there, but Varus going to be banned away. I do think that's really intelligent, something that can lane well against the Ashe, can be fairly long range. Another answer that we saw a lot of in the past to Ashe, at least regionally in the LCS, was something like Jhin. So it'll be interesting to see what they're actually going to focus on taking away. Instead, it is just really a concern about poke and range. Ezreal, another champion that really deals with Heimer's towers very easily.
So my expectation right now for EDG is that something like a Sivir, maybe even a Tristana, get really strong wave clear and also complements the scaling. Now for DRX, my expectation is that you'll see an Akali and actually a dive buddy up towards the top side of the map, because if you're DRX, your eyes are on EDG need engage. You're looking at something like an Ornn to round out the draft for EDG, so they have a way to kick off these fights, which means that Kingen can feel pretty confident about going more towards something like the Camille that he has shown before. But the fact that they're already looking at an Orianna does surprise me. My expectation would be that DRX would lean more towards giving Zeka that comfort and giving him more of that dive threat.
I was going to say Camille, but instead it's actually just going to be Fiora. So they are expecting something along the lines of the Ornn. They want to already kind of pre-counter that, so to speak. They are going to be pretty light on engage, though they do have ult grenade from Heimer. They do have the Ashe arrow as well. Kennen coming through would mean that you're very reliant on flanks from the EDG side and potentially some playmaking from Scout, but not the easiest of hard engage by any means. But there is a tremendous amount of scaling here.
Okay.
And it is going to be a pretty good matchup, you know, at least in the early levels up into that Fiora. So we'll have to see, you know, how this top lane matchup is going to go between Kingen and Flandre. It feels very, very important. You know, I know that Kingen is someone that can play these carries, but generally is not played towards a tremendous amount. You know, he's definitely kind of left more on his island, and that is similar with Flandre, so maybe they feel they can get this kind of isolated 1v1 where the Fiora can eventually take advantage.
Yeah, we'll have to see where the priority is, because expectations are that DRX will have that push on the bot side of the map. A lot of pressure is going to be falling on Zeka's shoulders, though. We know that historically, Scout has gotten the better of Zeka when they did compete domestically, and now they're on a control mage matchup. One of the big advantages we talked about coming into this was that Scout would have a deeper champion pool. He does feel very comfortable on the Azir. We'll see how Zeka can compete now that he is playing his control mage rather than the typical Akali.
It's a very interesting draft here early on. And my eyes are already drawn to Kingen in the top lane playing Ghost Grasp. So it's very much about looking for this chase down in this extended 1v1. Flandre is not playing phase rush or anything specifically for that. So it could be difficult for him.
Look at the wave clear already from the bot lane of EDG. You can hear the support from the crowd. A very loud arena today, but the wave clear from Viper and Meiko is exceptional. They've clearly come in prepared for this Ashe Heimerdinger bot lane. And the big question, especially when you think about future games, is this an effective answer? Because if it's not, DRX have a very big advantage when it comes to drafting and the priority of this Ashe Heimer. We'll have to wait and see his scout, JJ.
Nice.
good awareness there from Zeka.
Well, and something I'm really interested about is when I look towards the top side, we see the Graves and the Fiora are both hanging out in this brush. Are they actually going to look for any sort of level 1 invade play? I'm assuming that they are.
Yeah.
Whether or not it'll be Raptors or perhaps even Red is going to be interesting. You can see Zeka is even playing towards that side and pushing up to try to make sure that there's not any sort of response that is available.
Well, they got an invade, and JJ going to be cross-mapping for this one as well. Now, Prime Gaming is giving away 150,000 RP to several lucky fans every day of Worlds. Head over to primegamingworlds22.com to enter and make sure to put in today's secret code to get bonus entries.
So while you guys do that, I'm going to quickly draw your attention to the bot side map. Our observer's already highlighted it for us, but the fact that the Lee Sin was able to get that early pressure. Wow, a lot of damage being put down onto Meiko. Incredibly low. The Ignite committed from BeryL as well. Of course, typically the Soraka does have a decent amount of sustain, but Azael highlighting the mini-map for us. You'll see the JJ doing the cross-map. This is the first time we've really seen this early invade response to a Graves level 1. So far in the quarterfinals, it has been oppressive and difficult to deal with, but JJ has found a very clever solution, which is I don't care if you're going to spot me out on a ward. I do not care what your early game plan is. I'm going to make sure that I can get this decent start. And while he will drop a single Raptor, he's still going to have a pretty... at least he's not going to lose his whole jungle camp.
Yeah, absolutely. Not going to really be very far behind whatsoever. He did use his ward early on to actually ward hop over and try to get right in there to take away that red. Will go back towards clearing his blue side, so it is just going to be a fairly even start here. You can even see question mark pings on the Gromp, so they have a good read of where the Graves is clearing right now, and going to be doing their best to actually track him and try to keep pace with this Graves, because generally speaking, if you're at parity with the Graves, you're doing a really, really good job.
One minor thing to point out is Lee Sin did leave up one of the small Raptors, so though Pyosik has a timer on Raptors might re-invade at 4 minutes and around 10, you're not going to have the exact thing here where he will clear down, he will clear his Raptors camp out. It won't be counter-juggled by JJ, but also means that camp's coming up a lot later for the Graves.
It certainly will. Meanwhile, in this bot lane, we continue to see the push being generated by DRX. This is somewhat as we expected. The thing about Soraka, or I suppose many poke matchups, is, well, you have to deal with a lot of poke. So one of the responses to that is sustain. Soraka can provide that sustain, but very early levels, not quite to the same degree as she will be able to later on into the game. And it feels like DRX's bot lane is trying to take advantage of this. The Hail of Blades, the Comet, both being run on by Ashe and Heimerdinger respectively, mean that they can continue to push Viper and Meiko underneath their tower.
Absolutely. And so much of laning against Soraka in general is a heal was actually forced out there from Soraka. So Soraka getting very, very low is actually just dodging the Qs. If Soraka can hit the Qs, you can stay very healthy and just continuously recharge that health, be able to have very, very health positive trades. But if you cannot, and it is very difficult in this matchup because you're outranged by both the volley as well as the Heimer rockets, then you're going to get chipped down and down and down, as we see has happened to Meiko. And he's going to have to take a base here, so we'll see how quickly this DRX bot lane can try to crash that wave, because there was no more pots left for Meiko, no more pots left for Viper, and they'd already used Summoner Heal.
Nice by Zeka. He dropped all of 4 CS after clearing out 6 waves. Perfect CS is 38. He's at 34. Tier plus part of a lost chapter. He will have infinite mana to shove this wave forever.
And I will say, I also like the adaptation here from Viper, because he knows he's going to be in a push matchup, so just going TP here, because he knows he's likely going to be locked under the tower, I think makes a tremendous amount of sense. A delay on the base there, obviously very nice. Scout does have TP, but he's going to lose a full wave if he bases now. Pyosik, though, could be in some trouble.
Items on the Lee Sin. He's got pickaxe, so shoves him out. Nearly the kill on a Scout. Zeka, of course, not level 6, would have been able to force a flash to the Shockwave.
Zeka is a very oppressive laner. Even domestically in the LCK, he was shown to be very good in terms of his straight-up laning mechanics. Obviously, when we look at his typical laning style of usually finding success on melee mid-lane matchups, when you then get the advantage to be ranged, especially on a champion like Orianna that is naturally a very aggressive lane champion, you can see how much control and agency he has. 45 CS, just short of 5 minutes into the game, already off to a great start for Zeka in the 1v1.
I mean, it's awesome, right? He had won that 1v1 early on, got the chunk down, TP's back early. They got multiple delayed recalls there onto Scout, so he has to actually drop waves because he's too low to stay around.
Mismatch Smite.
Smite on JJ, should be his.
Yeah, and Graves should know it as well, pressing tab, so it is going to be taken by JJ. Well done by him, level 4 on each, and honestly now both at 8 camps. So though Graves had a nice invade, as you mentioned, Lee Sin was keeping pace the whole time, and indeed here they are, both in 8 camps.
So in terms of the early game, things looking pretty favorable for DRX in terms of the lanes that they have control over. Good push in the bot side of the map, good control over the mid matchup. Top side though, as we kind of expected, both being left on an island to fend for themselves. And this is going in favor of Flandre. You can see him slowly starting to build up this pretty sizable CS advantage, as we would expect in the Kennen into Fiora matchup. And I feel like this is one of the big things that DRX need to be cautious of, because domestically in the LPL, EDG was never known for their incredibly dominant early game. They were known as one of the best team fighting teams in the LPL. They were really great at clawing their way back into games. They were really good at finding really good team fights. And the reason why they finished third at the end of the playoffs in the LPL was because of this talent to be able to find these great team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they didn't die a lot early game. They didn't get a tremendous amount of kills early game, but they generally created, you know, small laning advantages. And their bot lane in particular is really known for their excellence in team fighting, you know, and when they can get those advantages through bot, JJ and Scout are so adept at actually helping them to extend those advantages by moving towards bot, by finding dives, by finding these plays that can really put Viper in a position to succeed, where he's gonna pay you back tenfold, because this guy is just unreal.
The Krug's taken away now as well by the Graves. As the second time in that exact camp, never taken on his side right here for the EDG jungler, Meiko and Viper. Going back to the bot lane, having to play around the Rockets. BeryL, without any bonus mana in his build, is able to pretty easily spam the W and keep the poke going. He's felt pretty comfortable in that one. And
spotted
Lee Sin,
out.
I believe,
Still
not
not
spotted.
spotted.
Sling to the top side. Will it be enough? Of course, level 5 and Lee Sin, no kick.
Flandre has ult.
Kennen could try.
If Fiora Q's forward, they're going to go for it. They're waiting for the cannon. And when he goes for the cannon...
Oh, wow. Goes for it, gets the vital. Here's the ulti, but he's out of range. He's out of range of the stun and just walks away. Flandre didn't commit a flash or anything.
Yeah, Flandre really misplaying that. You know, it looked like he knew he wanted to go for him on the cannon, but then they pulled back. He didn't actually hard commit to it. Pyosik now zoning off the EDG bot lane, who has been chunked down. They're going to start to be able to chip away at this tower. Will be at least one plate going their way. They're now 2 full waves ahead. This is amazing for DRX, as EDG flubbed on the top side, and they're able to get something done on the bot side.
The only good news for EDG is that they will secure the Herald, so at least this plate loss for the time being won't result in too much, as EDG will be able to claw something back. So the question is, what does it mean for the future? Because DRX are finding successful plays around their bot side, and Kingen is doing what you need him to do. Mitigate any sort of pressure that is thrown his way. This can be a very difficult matchup in the early laning phase, and the fact that he was able to dodge away from that gank, only expending his ghost, means that while he will lose a bit of farm, overall, DRX a walk away happy.
Absolutely. They're going to be able to start stacking up these dragons here. But one concern I do have that we haven't really touched on is, you know, generally when you see Kennen in the game, you're always going to have an answering exhaust, because it's such a powerful summoner spell against this champion. It's so obvious when the damage is coming out. But there's no exhaust whatsoever. It is Ignite on BeryL. They wanted to go for more kill pressure, which completely makes sense against the Soraka. But you look at a lot of the members here on the DRX side, they are extremely squishy. Ashe, Heimer, Orianna, and Graves, and even really the Fiora can all get roasted by a flanking Kennen. So it's something that they're going to have to really be good at marking and make sure that whenever they're setting up for these 5v5s, someone is off to a flank and trying to force Flandre to ult in that 1v1 instead of being able to get on top of the team.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that responsibility is going to fall on someone like Zeka or BeryL. With the range and control that they do have on both an Orianna and a Heimer, they can make it very obnoxious for a Kennen to try and get into a fight. But you're right, making sure you have control over those flanks is going to be very difficult when playing up against the Kennen, especially when you look at the Sivir too. Imagine you get that bonus movement speed from the ultimate. That can make that engage so much more difficult. But this is one of the things that we're thinking about later on into the game, right? How did DRX actually start fights? They're kind of looking for picks with things like the Ashe ultimate, maybe trying to play through side lane. The thing that they can do is have Pyosik hover Kingen. Maybe he can force out a bit of an exchange, and then they can try and find a pick onto the Kennen before converting it into something else. Their overall game plan execution will give them advantages in the early game, but being able to play the mid game is going to be a lot harder for them, rather than EDG's straightforward group up team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I will say, though, you know, when I am playing a split pusher, it's actually really nice playing with the Ashe, because even if you don't have perfect vision, the hawkshot is going to help you track that enemy jungler so much better. So it gives you a better idea of those windows when you can really go aggressive, and especially when you are playing Ghost. Nice. Tap into it from Viper. Great spell shield on that ulti.
Yeah, really, really challenged up there. Oh, and it's nice to see, like, a lot of that is just pre-planning as well. It's not just reflexes. It's like, hey, I know Soraka is the target. I'm always going to play around her and hold spell shield at all these points in time, so that he has the option open. So oh my word. Yeah, burn somebody, he'll stay alive. Meiko getting tricked pretty heavily. It's just always what's impressive to me about those plays is half of it is knowing at the start of the game you have to play it that way, and then being there every time.
And I'd also say, you know, you're just using your spell shield intelligently throughout the lane, right? Because you don't want to just waste that on a volley or something, and then all of a sudden you don't have it for that ultimate anymore. But at the same time, if you're getting poked down too heavily, it can also get rough there. Pyosik moving down towards bot again. JJ is hovering. They want to make sure that Viper can continue to pick up this farm, as he is already a 24 CS down. Will close that gap a little bit here, but still, they've opened up quite a nice lead, plus the 2 plates on the bot side.
Overall, DRX have had smooth control of the early game, and everything's kind of playing out as we expected coming into game 1. Typically slightly slower teams when it comes to the early game. We have seen strong performances overall, as Scout gets interrupted for like the 7th time this game. This man just wants to go back to base, and as you rightly said, it's super annoying for the lane as well. Typically, this is a really good reset timer because of the Kennen minion wave. It means it gives you more time to get back into the lane, but he's not going to have that extra time because the Heimerdinger is also going to help push out the wave, which means he's going to be forced to expend that TP. Of course, the Unleashed teleports won't be available until the 14-minute mark, which is around when the dragon will spawn.
Yeah.
Zeka, will he choose to invest his TP? For the time being, no. Let's have a look at the minimap, because I also see JJ hovering around the top side of the map. TP invested now from Zeka. And overall, just a little bit more training in the lane.
Oh, that's almost enough lethal damage. He has Wish, casts it. Will not quite find lethal, but that is still so much pain as Viper blocks the rockets, and Meiko will have to recall 100 health.
Well played, again, blocking that out, you know, on the rocket there. JJ looking to threaten Zeka, but Zeka is aware that this could be coming. He's playing down towards the bottom side, opposite side of where JJ would be looking to attack from. Also, will say, I actually really like that it's the Luden's build here for Scout, because again, it is a very squishy enemy team. You can go Luden, Sork Boots, Shadow Flame, you know, very heavy burst damage up front there.
Now top side though, you can see it keep going here as well, as Flat Pen is kind of being stacked. Of course, that's a double AP team. Stacking Flat Pen can be punishing. We'll see if Graves goes for like a Hex Drinker or something as he pushes towards durability. Obviously, Mark Treads here on the Fiora. Everyone else going to be trying to play pretty far back. BeryL going to take his first sidestep to getting heal cut actually. Gore Drinker Lee Sin, very, very common. Obviously, Soraka exists. I tend to really, really value Oblivion on supports if possible. If you need healing cuts somewhere, you really do want on supports who aren't trying to hit like a 3-item power spike. Like their multiplication is not nearly as strong. The raw stats are good enough. So I think really wise at DRX, make sure it's BeryL who buys this.
We can also see now the Dragon spawning about 30 seconds time. I did just see a flash expended by Scout there in the mid lane. This is already a big advantage gain for DRX, but they're not using it to move into the bot side river. Good spot there, Phreak. I did miss the shockwave being expended by Zeka, but that will force the flash out, which means that Summoner Spell down, but big ultimate unavailable for a potential upcoming dragon fight.
Yeah, exactly, and now we'll have to see if DRX are going to be looking to fight it. Nice chunk onto Viper, who does not have his TP. Will be able to get healed back up by Meiko somewhat, but Zeka has base, it has no teleport, so I think because they didn't get that pick, they're not even really going to contest here. They're poking and prodding, but with Scout coming down, you have to pay some respect.
Really good flash there from Viper. Good poke, once again, coming out from DRX. And this is the obnoxious thing about Ashe, Heimerdinger as a bot lane. They're so oppressive when it comes to slow, stuns, just overall being annoying and making it difficult for you to get on top of them.
I mean, they're doing such a good job, right? Because Zeka was even in base, so they were basically in a 3v4, but they weren't really fully committing. And then as soon as Viper used the spell shield, out comes the ulti, the flash is forced, you know, really doing a good job pressuring here. And JJ now.
14, 20 into the game, flashed away from a bit, has the rocket jump to get away as he ward hops out and will not get killed, but the rocket's forced him to jump out of his own jungle.
Really good smoke screen there from the Graves, made it that much harder for JJ. Had to flash out just to be able to see what he was doing, and then he was able to ward hop over to safety. He will walk away with his life, but this does mean another objective gained for DRX, and they will continue to stack these Drakes. So now that's 2 on the board for them. We'll see what the soul of this game will be in just a few moments' time.
And it's starting to feel a little bit like bot versus top, right? You're looking at the gold advantage between these 2 players, then you're looking down towards bottom lane. Even on the supports, the amount of Spell Thief's gold that had been farmed up by BeryL had created a pretty significant lead for him, at least in the short term.
Wow.
And Meiko going to be forced to flash. Man, BeryL is getting a lot of work done moving around the map, and a great shockwave again, forcing a flash there. That's 2 in a row from Zeka. Got the flash from Scout with his previous one. Now gets a flash off Meiko.
But it is going to be second Herald, though, looks like, as they step up, they put the wards down to get rid of the vision. And as Scout heals back up, it's going to be claimed. Without Shockwave, the fight is harder. Zeka a bit low on mana. That's a stun, but will it be enough, though? 100 HP, Wish comes off in time. They're still going for a bit more. First blood, the latest of worlds comes through. Kingen gets a single vital. Will it be enough to kill? Yes, Pyosik takes him down. DRX 2-0. Viper's still slowed, fights back on a Deft.
Flandre has ult.
Kill him. It's a stun. Refuses to ult though. Does not go for any more. Finally, dives on in. Gets the 3-man stun. The single kill. The stun away onto Pyosik, and nothing more than that. A 1,000 gold lead and 2 Dragons. DRX in the lead.
Oh, very back and forth there, but at the same time, Kingen goes mid, and he is like potentially going to knock down that full tower there. Fiora crushes through that, but now Scout!
What a shuffle! BeryL goes for a ward. I don't know if he saw Scout or not, but gets punished. EDG get a kill back, but first turret goes to DRX.
We finally get to see a bit of action in this game between EDG and DRX, but it is overall DRX that come out on top. They find a number of kills, they secure the mid lane tower. What we're going to see is just this chip damage that continues to come down onto Meiko specifically. And Azael, you said it earlier, if he's not landing those Qs, he's not healing back up, and you can see how much damage is just consistently being done. Chip, 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 good side set from Scout, but it means that his support is left out to dry.
Yep, and then Kingen on the top side trying to keep Flandre out of this as long as he can. You know, does pop the parry there, had to get out as he's getting really, really low, and then Deft sees his opportunity flashing forward here, but Scout able to dissuade him from actually committing to the play, and this is where Flandre sees his moment.
A bit of overconfidence, I would say, from Deft. He was feeling it, and then Flandre is quick to punish. There was a small window here where it looked like DRX could actually continue the chase, but Zeka said, I'm out of mana, I don't think we can chase this, so let's just disengage for the time being.
Yeah, I was thinking with the ult still available there.
Take the Q, flash, gets away from the E. Goredrinker not activated either, so just barely a survival at Pyosik. Now out of flash, out of ult.
I mean, you know, at the end of the day, Scout ended up getting a kill on BeryL with his ult after, but there was that moment when Flandre went in. I was thinking maybe Scout is going to look to follow up here. You know, there were some low health bars, but he didn't have his flash, so perhaps didn't think he could actually close the gap there. And JJ now trying to hold on to this tower. Looks like the vitals display there is a little bit incorrect because it's showing vitals on 2 sides, so hopefully that will reset.
Yeah, knocked on the bottom one, and then, yeah, wait for the next one to come back up. Goredrinker got his health back up a little bit there for JJ, and he's going to be fine. Still a 1,700 gold lead and 2 Drakes to 0. Certainly a sizable lead for DRX. The question is, what will the team fights look like down the line? Because last one did go roughly 2-2.
DRX find themselves in a pretty comfortable position right now. The next major objective they'll be looking to play for is this dragon spawning in about 2 minutes' time. Kingen going to be taking more control over this side lane now that he's gotten that first item completed. Of course, the Kennen will slowly start to struggle more in the isolated 1v1 matchup, and they're going to rely on him to be able to join these team fights. Having that unleashed teleport available will naturally make it easier, and Azael and I will continue to keep eye on these wards littered around the map, as we expect EDG to be investing these deep wards to try and look for flanks, but right now it is DRX in full control.
Yep, DRX, you know, with really the only wards across half here. You know, when you're looking at the vision, the line gets to about there. That's really all they have on the EDG side. You know, they don't really have very great visions. They're moving heavily towards the top side. Oh.
Good response there from Scout, able to flash away from the arrow. I don't think anyone was expecting that, and it definitely caught Scout by surprise, but pro player reflexes there, able to get him to safety.
Yeah, Colin Tima, that was Swift Scout. All right, that was my one for the day. That's a lie, there's more coming. Yeah. Minute to go, though, until Soul Point for DRX. Ocean Drakes on the Rift. Extra brush, extra honey fruit. And soon to be even more regen as Soraka could bump out. As Kingen looks to run away in the bottom side. JJ will not get him much done. We'll be able to summon, and with bot lane, I believe, a little bit injured. This actually could just about finish the turret here, so as long as they can control this lane, 500 gold will go to EDG's inventory.
Yeah, the tower is low enough, so will be a kill on that tower, unless they can somehow stop it from charging, but I doubt that they can. So the turret does go down. Kingen can actually come back and clean this up. But some pretty interesting item choices here. Swifties on Sivir, so really struggling with some of the slows that are being applied here, you know, from the Heimer grenade, if it hits you on the outside, that's a slow. Obviously, the Ashe volley, also a slow. So really wanting to be able to dodge out from a lot of these skill shots and just putting high priority on that boost speed. Going to TP down towards bottom lane. They're going to push through there instead of through mid to try to access the dragon. But this does mean that DRX get a free push on mid. We can see Ashe is already out there shoving that up. So we'll see if either team is going to be able to force a response with Fiora now on that flank.
So keep my eyes on Flandre right now. His flash is up in about 30 seconds. But I don't know if that's going to be enough time. You can see he's trying to stay in the fog of war as Kingen is coming in from behind. Flandre is going to be so important when it comes to the big team fight. The arrow comes through.
Actually just tags Lee Sin, who's just standing still, takes the tank, but he's going to be fine at the end of the day. They know where Kingen is. He walked over to the Azir turret, couldn't find a better flank than that, just sitting behind. hoping for an angle. 6,000 health left on the Drake. BeryL on the top side. Another mid-wave catches up. That is already 100 gold denied away from EDG, but they stick around for more. Level 13 on the Azir. Gonna look for the play onto BeryL. Finds the shove back, kills him without a single spell cast. In goes Flandre. There's a second. Meiko over the wall. The chase down for Kingen. Gets single kill. Kick back, but not taken down. Staying alive. Down to half health. Finds a 3-man slow. But JJ on the chase. Q's gonna be sidestep. Stays alive. Flash in for Viper. Nearly dies, but forces DRX to flash away. Flash back in. Zeka gets the kill on the Viper. A chase in. JJ misses, but Scout is here to finish the job.
It's an absolute bloodbath back and forth. Skillshot just barely not connecting. Deft on the wrong side of the map, and Scout is here to kill his former teammate.
W auto Q comes back up. There is the rampage of EDG's 5. Make it 6 kills, 4 belong to the mid laner.
It's nothing personal, my man. It's just business, and Scout is looking to get himself a big victory here in the quarterfinals. The Kingen TP will force away JJ from the objective, and everyone from DRX is slowly starting to respawn. They're getting back out onto the map, whereas EDG, they need to reset, get their health bars back up, and spend some of the gold that they just picked up.
Can they actually buy time for Deft, though? Because if they can't rush it down, EDG is going to be here a good 30
round 2, boys.
Faster. I feel like DRX might have to give it up. They're going to try to buy time here, but Deft just now respawning. He's got to run all the way out there.
Yep.
And everyone from EDG is already here, so it's a 3v5 for a good 15, 20 seconds.
Deft's contribution is Enchanted Crystal Arrow right now, otherwise nothing.
Guys, I feel like I've seen this before.
Yeah. Korean 80 carries in New York don't land Ashe arrows. What are you talking about? This never happens. Here we go. Starting up now again. JJ, 6,000 health yet again on this one, but it's going to reset. We know Pyosik's around, so a steal's not going to happen, or it is going to be flipped over what I should say. Kingen indeed looking for his flank play, but doesn't have it just yet. Scout, no flash, but has the ulti yet again. And once again, looking for this dragon. Most of them playing inside the brush. A blue trigger required to see where everyone is. Flandre still does behind his own team, cannot find the actual flank. It's going to be up on the front side instead. Sivir pop, nice smite. Pyosik grabs it. 3-0 DRX.
This time in DRX leverage their range and don't give EDG the opportunity to find the fight. That means that they walk away with the objective and put themselves on soul point.
And now they have them cut off towards mid, so they're going to have to try to walk the long way around. Kingen, Pyosik, and BeryL trying to zone them out. As Zeka and Deft are onto the tier 2 tower, this looks like it's gone. DRX are playing the map so well.
3-1 in turrets, 3-0 in Drakes. Gold lead in their favor as well. Everything in the top scoreboard says DRX are winning here in game 1.
Massive props to DRX. I think that when you look at this series on paper, EDG should come in as the favorites, but DRX continue to surprise. The fact that they even qualified to the World Championship this year was a surprise to many. They were not supposed to be here, but at every single stage, they have only defied expectations. They land the stun.
Done. Will it kill, though? Able to shuffle back out his Scout, staying alive. He's got extra health in that build, making it a bit more comfortable. BeryL did ignite in that fight, so it is a big cooldown missing.
Yep, yeah, they do cost themselves some cooldowns, but we can go back towards this dragon here. The turret's even getting dropped. They decided to try to burst it down. Lee Sin is stunned. I wonder if he was out of range. Was he stunned?
Nearsighted. He was W'd by Graves.
He was nearsighted in the arrow, so he's actually stunned up, loses vision with that smoke screen. Great catch, Phreak. I didn't actually see the graphic of that, which means he's not going to be able to smite it. You can, of course, can smite while you are stunned, but not if you do not have vision of the dragon.
It, yeah.
As they say, if you can't see me, I can't see you. You know what I'm saying? So the dragon
could see him.
Dragon ends up falling to DRX. So when we kind of take stock of the whole map right now, DRX do have a small advantage, a single tower advantage, and a pretty significant Drake advantage. This means that in terms of their early game control, they've been able to convert it into quite a lot. While the gap between the two teams isn't dramatic, a lot of that does come down to the fact that EDG have been finding successful fights. They traded 2 for 2 over up towards the topside Herald. They just found themselves a favorable fight around the Dragon. And you look at Scout, level 15 on the Azir, 2 fully completed items. The man is really coming online right now, and it's going to be a bigger threat as the game continues.
Absolutely. You can start to see some MR is being picked up on the other side as an answer, because it's flat pen in both mid lane and top lane. You can see the Hex Drinker has already been picked up. Merc Tread's in top lane. Merc Trade's down here. We have another Hex Drinker being built up by Deft as well. There's so much threat from those double AP soul laners on the EDG side. And this is going to mean there's going to have to be some heavy lifting from Viper as well. If people are starting to really stack up that MR, it puts more pressure on the Sivir to really be that threat.
And the ironic thing, though, is Sivir, you can see Viper's build. He doesn't believe he has target access. He went Swifties, which you called out earlier, and he went rapid fire cannon, which is like, I get one auto. I can Q, I can throw one ricochet. Go team, and that's his build. And I'm not saying goes and it has to bow out. Like, he deserves a bit better than that, you know? Like, I want a bit more out of Deft. I want him to get that extra little bit. So we are back into the game here, and we'll see if EDG can get some map control.
When you talk about, him being known as the best marksman in the world, all those years ago, I think a lot of people would argue that he is, at the very least, in that conversation up near the top. And now he is against Viper, who most people have as the best AD carry in the world today, right? So he has an opportunity to prove himself against that level of player, against the defending world champions here in EDG, his former teammates in Meiko and Scout. And it's just so interesting to have that opportunity.
And now we're just seeing both teams dance around this mid lane, because when we look at objectives across the board, there aren't really that many outside of the tier 2 towers, but also this mid-tier 1. It has been the thorn in the side of EDG. By taking it down, it makes it much easier to gain access into the enemy jungle because you can push those waves in deeper. But DRX, they're holding firm. They're leaving Kingen on a side lane to act as that threat. And if you look at the minimap right now, you can see this Fiora pushing in that bot side while they just maintain control over this mid wave and make sure that they secure vision around the Baron, which they can transition towards the Dragon in a minute's time.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing missing for the Fiora is, when you look down to that bottom quadrant, it doesn't have that deep vision. So he can push out the wave, but then he has to back it off until he really sees everyone here. And as DRX do reset, EDG has now moved in towards that top side, and they're clearing out all the wards in this area, as well as pushing up towards mid. And they should be able to knock down this tier 1 here pretty easily.
You get it. Number 3 on the board here. EDG tying up the turret score. Top outer for their sake, still holding on. As mid tier 2 is dead on their side of the map. Otherwise, they've knocked down all the outers. And now EDG are, in fact, the first ones in River. They actually managed to grab all the control on the side of the map. Deft on his way towards a Wit's End to get the MR to survive. A Kennen and Azir. Kingen is already here on the flank as well. Bot lane, most being left alone. And look at this. BeryL has snuck in, and BeryL has a bunch of turrets now on the ground. And EDG might not be first objective anymore.
I mean, if you can get 3 turrets down and someone face checks into a grenade into ult rocket, even as a support here, you can potentially 100-0 someone. So they do have to be a little bit careful about who the one walking forward here is. But he's given up. He's
killing him.
Revealed by the dragon. It's really smart. If you pull the dragon, it's going to hit whatever is closest to it, whether it's your team or their team. So if someone is hiding in a brush, that can be revealed.
Yep. Certainly can be. Dragon now being aggroed towards DRX. Kingen hovering off in the fog of war, yet to be spotted. The teams have reversed compared to the last time we saw this dragon fight. Flandre hovering around behind. They don't see Kingen on the flank, but here comes the arrow.
Arrow hits Scout. Smite fight, not just yet. It's going to be reset on the Drake. Fiora still not in. Shockwave catches one. Meiko stays alive. Here comes Fiora. Finds the kill, but Kennen goes back in for 2. And you got a bunch of damage still on Zeka. Stopwatch buys some time. Fiora goes for broke, but his ankles are just that. The kick, and it's Scout securing the kill. On for a triple. And EDG win as long as they possibly could. They're going to get the ace. Only Meiko falls, and Baron's going to be next in their sights.
The world-class team fighting of EDG strikes again. DRX are wiped off the map. There will be no soul. There will be no Baron. EDG will take it all.
EDG get everything, and it was Scout flying in, finding that engage. The chaos created by this Azir opens the window for Flandre to fly in with his ultimate, for Viper to go forward as well. Everyone from EDG committing heavily to the fight. And these squishy members on DRX's side, once that engage was there from EDG, they just couldn't stand up to it.
100% kill participation for Scout. We have to keep our eyes on him because, look, the arrow connects to him onto the backline. The shockwave, though, is late. Look, it doesn't come quite through. It lands on a Meiko, but it doesn't connect onto Scout. This then gives him the window to dive onto the backline, scoop up Deft, scoop up Pyosik. They get melted by the Kennen ultimate. And while we talked about Flandre looking for those flanks, it was all about Scout finding that engage to set up for his team to clean house.
Yeah, he didn't have to go through the back door because Scout just kicked down the front. Comes right down the middle, knocks both those marksmen into the team. And you can see how excited they are backstage, knowing that was a massive moment for them. Had DRX won that, they get the soul, they potentially get the Baron, the game could be theirs, but now It is EDG truly in the driver's seat here. I.e. nearly done for Viper. It will be after this Baron power play because he already has all the pieces. That is going to be another enormous spike.
2,400 gold right now. Yeah, top lane Adder killed. Kingen doing the best he can to play permanent split push, mostly catching up in farm with the opposing top laner, but it's still overall higher farm out of EDG. And the bot side siege slows down a little bit. Ashe, Heimer, Orianna, pretty good defensive tools. And despite grabbing this Baron buff, EDG actually behind in turret kills so far. Of course, more to do as mid lane tier 2 should drop, and Kingen will finally get his own recall off. So still about 1,500 gold. There's 2,000 on the Red Bull Baron power play.
They send Flandre up to go and catch that top wave. EDG a little slow to play through both lanes, but they're able to secure the tier 2 in the mid. Now, though, they have to break through this wall that is Zeka, Deft, and BeryL. The wave clear from this trio is oppressive and very difficult to siege onto. As long as EDG keep playing through these two lanes, they will slowly chip away at these objectives. The rapid fire going to be helpful here for Viper to just slowly hit away, and the damage from Scout, you can see in the side lane, no one can really stop him at this point. And unless they're willing to commit, he's going to take advantage of his range to chip away at these towers.
I mean, that is just the flat pen build there. Q plus 1, maybe 2 autos. It's a good 60% of Deft's health there.
Yep.
And they're just going to punch it right through, knocking down the first inhibitor tower. The inhibitor is going to be gone very quickly here. We'll see how quickly Kingen comes back because he is still up in that top lane, still pushing. And it looks like they're going to be willing to give up this middle inhibit as well. They don't feel that they can defend it. So they're going to try to potentially trade for a top lane inhib. And you can see Flandre going back now. They're going to try to stop the recall.
Okay, yep. They get a couple more seconds off of the Lee Sin, but it's going to be middle inhibitor gone. Kingen doing what he can to get every objective possible. Can he kill his turret in time? With Demolish, it was close. And maybe there's going to be some wave capabilities on. Wants to go. Flandre has several vitals up, but the W is already burned. Q, auto. It's going to be the last shot. He can! And he can! 700 gold and a runaway. Kingen will try to start with his life. Sivir ulti, I believe, burned. Nah, they can't get into him anymore, so Kingen with a great kill. Knocked down an inhibitor turret as well.
Yeah, that's massive. The delay there from Deft actually forced it to be a TP. And though he does come through before the turret goes down, he comes through right as the tower is going to die. You get that kill, which is a shutdown. 700 gold going the way of Kingen there is very, very big. And it also means there won't be a TP for Flandre in a minute here for this next dragon. So if you can pull him to a side lane again as Kingen, you have TP advantage, and you could potentially set up a 5v4 at the Drake.
I think that's the biggest advantage from DRX's perspective, because EDG now find themselves in an awkward map state where while they do have push, consistent push in mid and bot lane, that top lane is going to be very difficult for them to play around with Scout not having TP available. And let me just very quickly check, it's going to be available in about 50 seconds, which means that the dragon will spawn before that is ready. DRX can just leave Kingen in the side and leverage their poke around the dragon. The problem the DRX are going to have is that Flandre's flash is about to come back up. Scout also is about to have his flash back up. In fact, it's now available, which means that this 4 versus 5 around the dragon is a very difficult position for DRX to put themselves in.
But you have to look, it's Hullbreaker Fiora, and he is top, right? He is going to try to commit to this heavily.
Walking.
Look at BeryL as well.
Someone needs to come for him.
Zeka has TP and Heimer's walking up. They get 3-man top lane, and you will delete structures. So EDG rush on the Baron. Recalls take 8 seconds. Inhibitor is gone. Quick wave clear comes through. Now BeryL's here. He can put down wards, he can put down turrets, and they're going for the base. Scout shows up, but can you find the shuffle? He's able to get it, but over the wall they go. A stopwatch burn, and Viper gets the kill. Viper flashes, they get the second, and just like that, Scout is legendary.
Yeah, that's huge. They get back. Both the carries of EDG do arrive, and now they're going to try to go for an end of their own. They're TPing back in here. 4 members of EDG are going to be here. There's only 3 from DRX.
Is going to be enough there. Deft not going to be locked down too much just yet, but they're going to go for the wave as best they can. They know bot lane is flooding in. Zeka's wave clear is only so good. A new cannon, a new Superman is on the way. And they've got a 4 versus 3 inside the base. Sivir still walking over. She TP'd to the base. First turret dropping pretty rapidly. Still trying to clear out the minions. First turret is down. A stopwatch burn, but that should be a kill every time, right? Deft going to be locked in place. Here goes Kennen. The kick back. 2 kills. And EDG going to take the very first game. The attempt at the Nexus does not succeed from DRX. The early game was not enough, but Scout drops. 3 alive. Can they kill it in time? JJ gets low. Viper's still hitting. He's got the Guardian Angel, and the Nexus falls. EDG takes game 1.
In typical EDG style, they will team fight their way to victory. And while there were windows for DRX, they were very quickly shut in the face of the overwhelming reigning world champions. EDG looking good here in game one.
Man, what an exciting game, though. It really was, creativity here from DRX, both with the draft, bringing out the Heimer Ashe, trying to also play a much trickier style of game here, looking for the side lane, looking for the back doors when things started to fall apart in that 5v5. But as you said, Betty, it is the team fighting from EDG that really stood tall here. That soul point fight, that soul fight was really what changed this game completely, because it had been DRX in the driver's seat for quite some time. Scout finds that incredible engage, sweeping back Deft, sweeping back the Graves as well. They both get deleted. That gives them a dominant team fight win of the Dragon. That eliminates the soul condition. They take the bear, and the gold lead really catches right back up.
And what do we say at the very beginning? Hey man, is Zeka good on melee champions? You know what he's not great on? The mages. And we get a max range arrow hit, full stun duration on who ended up being like a 9-0 Azir. Where was Shockwave? After he got unstunned.
Right.
It killed a Soraka. Meiko got one shot, and the team fight was 5v4, but like, Shockwave killed Soraka. Azir Shuffle killed their entire bottom lane, right? And it's like, Scout's pretty good at League of Legends.
It definitely felt like in these team fights, there was a very big mid diff, and you see it in the PGB, like the difference in terms of damage was pretty significant in favor of the Azir, with 32,000 damage done overall. Like, Scout is a world-class mid laner. Many respect him for his talents. He's a veteran in the space as well, and we're going to need to see a little bit more from Zeka if he wants to get the better of Scout.
And it's interesting, right? Because obviously, DRX came into this with a plan, wave clear mid, pushing bot, split push top, that all really, I think, does make sense as a cohesive composition, but it doesn't work out here in game one. Silas and Akali both were available. They could have grabbed those up if they were willing to do it blind. Of course, that is scary against Scout, but we'll see if they want to change that up in game two.
Well, you got more to play, of course. The best of 5. It's at least 3 games, so at least 2 more to go.